Hello, Telesur English presents a new episode of China Now, a Wave Media's production that showcases the culture, technology and politics of the Asian giant. In this first segment, China Current dives into the 16th Summit of the BRICS, a multilateral event that delivered a great gift to the Global South. Let's see.
China Current is a weekly news talk show from China to the world. We cover viral news about China every week and also give you the newest updates on China's cutting-edge technologies. Let's get started.
Welcome to China Currents, your weekly news report on what's happening in China. I'm Lisa. In this episode, BRICS come together to deliver a great gift to the Global South. Huawei released a new game-changing operating system. IMF pointed out China, India and Brazil will be the engine of global economy in 2025. First, let's see how the BRICS will end the US dollar hegemony. From the 22nd of October to the 24th, the 2024 BRICS Summit took place in Russia, generating significant attention among the Chinese public for two key announcements. The first was President Putin's unveiling of sample banknotes for the BRICS currency, and the second was the introduction of the BRICS Pay, a new cross-border payment system. Both developments represent significant progress in the de-dollarization movement, and it opens up the possibility for China, Russia, and the Global South to be immune to US sanctions. First, the BRICS banknote features the flags of the 5 founding countries, along with those 14 other member nations. The design also incorporates various languages and landmarks from each country, showcasing a commitment to cultural inclusiveness and diversity that stands in stark contrast to the US dollar and the euro. On the other front, BRICS Pay is posed to neutralize the financial sanctions leveraged by the US. Following the onset of the Russian-Ukraine conflict, the US removed Russia from the SWIFT system, complicating trade for Russian companies and making it difficult for ordinary Russians to access their funds in European and US banks. Even Swiss banks, traditionally viewed as having a neutral position, imposed sanctions on Russia. But now the BRICS Pay will make it harder for the US and EU to repeat such action, and it also has two other major improvements. First, the SWIFT system is heavily influenced by the US and the EU due to systematic discrimination against the Global South within its governance structure. It is overseen by a board of directors comprising 25 members elected by the most influential banks. As of May 2024, representatives from the US, EU, Australia and Canada holds 21 of these 25 seats. In contrast, China, South Africa, Japan and Singapore collectively share 4 seats for Asian and African countries, while South American nations have no representation at all. So, how can the financial interests of the Global South be adequately represented in such an imbalanced voting system? In contrast, the BRICS Pay system employs a decentralized cross-border message system developed by Russia's St. Petersburg State University. The system operates without a central owner or hub, allowing the participants to manage their own nodes. In this decentralized framework, no country can impose its will on others' node, regardless of its size or military power. Furthermore, BRICS Pay enable member countries to conduct cross-border payments in their own currencies, mitigating the effect of foreign exchange fluctuations on trade. The era when a single nation could dominate the global economy merely by printing money is coming to an end. Secondly, the SWIFT system enjoys widespread global use because it effectively encompasses the world's most significant economies. Therefore, it is very challenging for countries that are reliant on exporting raw materials and other products to detach from it. However, BRICS Pay also includes several important economies. As of 2024, BRICS country controls 52% of the world's natural gas reserves, 42% of global oil reserves, and 53% of food production. Based on purchasing power parity calculations, the BRICS organization accounts for approximately 35.4% of global GDP, which surpasses the G7's share of 29.6%, and BRICS also represents 45% of the global population. These statistics indicate that if Europe and the United States were to impose sanctions on the BRICS pay, it would effectively isolate itself as half of the world's population and resources. For the global south, the end of dollar hegemony appears to be on the horizon. The primary concern for the Chinese public at this moment seems to be the relation between China and India, particularly regarding border tensions. However, during 2024 BRICS Summit, China and India reached an agreement on arrangement for checkpoints and patrols. India's Prime Minister Modi stated, "We welcome the agreement on the issues that had come up over the last 4 years. It should be our priority to maintain peace and tranquility on the border. Mutual trust, mutual respect, and mutual sensitivity should be the basis of our relationship." Clearly, if India can prioritize its long-term interest and work together with China for a better future for all Indian citizens, BRICS pay will become an unstoppable force. EU Foreign Policy Chief Mr. Borrell admitted not long ago that almost everyone in the non-Western world thinks now that there are credible alternatives to the West, not only economically but also technologically, militarily, and ideologically. According to Chinese scholar Professor Zhang Weiwei, Russia was isolated by the West, but the West is isolated by the rest. With BRICS rising, a multipolar world order has become an irresistible trend in history. Next, let's take a look at another Western monopoly that has been ended, the cell phone operating system. On the 22nd of October, Huawei officially launched its Harmony OS Next, its fully self-developed terminal operating system, signaling the end of the era dominated by Android and iOS. Previously, Huawei released Harmony OS, which still shared some Android open source code and maintained compatibility with Android applications. However, this part of Android code raises concerns, particularly after the pager and cell phone attacks in Lebanon. Harmony OS Next featured code that is entirely developed by Chinese engineers, ensuring it has no ties to Android whatsoever. According to Guangming Daily, as of 20th of October, China has over 1 billion devices powered by Harmony OS, all of which can be upgraded to the more secure Harmony OS Next system. Additionally, Huawei's engineers have successfully redeveloped and ported more than 15,000 applications based on Harmony OS Next, including popular platforms like WeChat, Alipay, and Douyin. Soon after, widely used apps such as Telegram and TikTok will also be available in its app market. The level of wealth in the Chinese community is also on the rise. On the 21st of October, during the latest World Economic Outlook presentation by the International Monetary Fund, Liu Ming, China's Vice Minister of Finance, expressed confidence that China would achieve its economic growth target of around 5% for 2025. This figure is significant for the global economy as it indicates that China's target will nearly double the Americans. According to the Business Insider, the IMF predicts US GDP growth will slow to 2.2% in 2025 as government spending decreases and the labor market cools, leading to reduced consumption. However, for the global growth, IMF predicted to be 3.2% in 2025. This means that the United States is holding the world back. According to Reuters, the IMF also projected that Germany would see zero growth this year, a downgrade of 0.2 percentage point due to ongoing struggles in its manufacturing sector. Meanwhile, Japan's growth forecast has been lowered by 0.4 percentage point to 0.3%, reflecting the lingering effect of supply disruptions. It looks like the G7 can no longer power global growth in 2025. But the good news is that there are other BRICS countries that are driving growth along with China. The IMF has upgraded Brazil's growth forecast by 0.9%, citing stronger consumption and investments, while India's projected growth rate has also been revised upward by 0.5% compared to 2024. And that is all for today. Thank you for watching this episode of China Currents. If you have any thoughts or comments about our show, please reach us at the email address below. We look forward to hearing from you and see you next time.
We have a short break now, but we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to China Now. This week, Geopolitics with Jeffrey Sachs, professor and director of the Center for Sustainable Development at Columbia University, features a special guest, Leung Sheng-ying, vice chairman of National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. Both analysts will offer an overview on China's current political scenario. Enjoy.
Hello, I'm Jeffrey Sachs, a university professor at Columbia University in New York City, and also president of the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network. This is Global Dialogue, a wonderful and very exciting opportunity for me to speak with China's leaders and shapers of China's future. And today I'm absolutely thrilled to be speaking with Chairman Leung, of course, the former chief executive of Hong Kong in the years 2012 to 2017, and a leader of China, currently the vice chairman of the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Committee, the CPPCC. And Chairman Leung, you've played a remarkable role in Hong Kong throughout the Pearl River Delta. Now we call it the Greater Bay Area. So thank you so much for being together with me in this opening session of our global dialogue. And I would like you, with your vast experience, to share some thoughts for everybody listening about the Greater Bay Area. I can say, as I turn it over to you, that from my point of view, looking around the world, I find few, if any, places that can match the Greater Bay Area in the combination of skills, production, technology, finance, culture, tourism, and at a scale of around 70 million people that can play such a remarkable dynamic role for China and with China's growing role in the world. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about this, because you've been so deeply involved in creating this integrated region and all of its remarkable advances.
Professor Sachs, I'm very pleased to be with you again. You're perfectly right in describing this initiative. It is an exciting subject from the intellectual, academic, political, economic, and social point of view. And the key word in this initiative is integration amongst the 11 cities that exist and operate under the two separate systems in the same country, under this one country, two systems principle. I say it's very interesting academically and intellectually as well, because, as you know, Hong Kong and Macau, as the two special administrative regions of China, operate a different political, social, and economic system compared to our counterparts on the mainland of China, including the rest of the Greater Bay Area cities. And therefore, we have this high degree of autonomy. We are not part of the same Guangdong province as the 9 Guangdong Greater Bay Area cities are. And then we have different currencies, different practices. For example, we have different professional qualifications, and so on and so forth. And Hong Kong and Macau are separate custom jurisdictions as well. And therefore, for people to cross the boundary, and also for goods and capital to cross the boundaries into the mainland of China, including the 9 Guangdong cities in the rest of the GBA, and vice versa in the reverse direction, you have custom and immigration control. And so how do we maintain the same one country, two systems with high degree of autonomy principle and at the same time achieve integration by releasing more sort of market forces into the system has been a subject that we are studying intensively for the last 10, 15 years, and we're seeing early results. And so it's very good to be having this dialogue with you and share my views with your audience.
This is fantastic. I really want to understand this because I know Hong Kong is an absolutely amazing place. I've often said if you don't love Hong Kong, you're not an economist because Hong Kong is economy, it's markets, it's finance, it's retail trade. It's absolutely dazzling. Right across the border in Guangdong province is Shenzhen, and I think Shenzhen, and I'd like to ask you about that. It's one of the most amazing development stories probably in history, because if I'm not mistaken, 40 years ago, or even more recently, Shenzhen was a village basically of maybe 25,000 people. And now it's one of the, am I right? It's 25 million today or something like that, a 1,000-fold increase. You watch that happen. How does it relate to Hong Kong, and how did that happen? Because it's absolutely unbelievable.
Well, about 45 years ago, when I was a young graduate having just left college, I, together with a number of professionals in Hong Kong, made trips across the boundary to Shenzhen. We helped Shenzhen establish its status as a special economic zone, and we also helped on the first city planning of Shenzhen, and we were told that they had a population target in mind of 300,000 people. And we had an interesting debate, and we said, where on earth would you get 300,000 people to come and live in Shenzhen? They had, as you said, at that time, something like 25, 30,000 people living in the fishing and farming villages. But now today, Professor Sack, they have the highest GDP per capita amongst all cities in the mainland of China. They have higher GDP per capita than Shanghai and Beijing, respectively, has. And it has
absolutely extraordinary.
It has its own container port, one of the biggest in the world. It is definitely one of the high-tech research and development and production centers of the whole of China.
Yeah, and of the world, I would say.
And of the world. And recently, it serves as a shopping, entertainment paradise for Hong Kong residents. I should also sort of move a little bit outside of Shenzhen to share with your audience the fact that 9 cities.
Yes, I would love to take a little tour of them together with you. Guangzhou, we know, but tell us about how Guangzhou is adjusting to the dynamism of this region. Is the dynamism shared across all of the 9 cities in Guangdong province?
Exactly. They all have their own different economic structure. Therefore, great synergy from Hong Kong's point of view as well. As you said, there are 9 Guangdong cities out of the 21 that form the GBA. The other 2 cities are Hong Kong, Macau special administrative regions. So altogether 11. Total population is 85 million people.
Whoa, okay.
It's
even bigger than I thought. I thought it was about 70, but it's growing so fast.
Yeah, and the total GDP of these 9 plus 2, 11 cities is about the same size as Korea, Australia. So that's how big it is. Just beyond Shenzhen, we have a district of Guangzhou that's called Nansha, where the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology 2 years ago opened a new campus in collaboration with the Guangzhou University. It's a great university. I know you have connections to the Hong Kong UST.
Yes.
And I go to Nansha quite a lot. And 1.7 kilometers away from Nansha, I established again 2 years ago a Hong Kong school for the children of Hong Kong residents in the mainland of China. It's non-profit from grade 1 all the way to grade 12. And we now have 1,200 students. And Nansha is one of the 3 platforms on the mainland Guangdong side of the GBA that is designated as an important platform for Guangdong, Hong Kong collaboration. And that's why I go there quite a lot. And Nansha is only, as I said, one of 11 districts of Guangzhou, but already it has a land area of 803 square kilometers. So that's how big it is. And it offers a new platform for Hong Kong. The throughput of containers of its port has already surpassed that of Hong Kong's.
Really?
It has literally speaking a rocket factory in Nansha that makes the 2nd most powerful solid fuel rocket in the world. And it has a ultra modern piggery, a pig farm that is something like 17-story high, also in Nansha. So you have port and it's the 3rd largest shipyard. It's also in Nansha. So you have a pretty complete content, if that's the right word, for Hong Kong to work with. And the fast-speed train from the city center of Hong Kong, West Kowloon, going to Nansha takes only 45 minutes. So these are the ingredients for integration, better, more efficient integration, synergetic integration under the one country, two systems, Hong Kong people ruling Hong Kong with a high degree of autonomy principle.
What I find remarkable, and again, I really don't know of another region in the world quite like it. You have world-class port services, world-class financial services, world-class production facilities, world-class technology, world-class higher education. And so, to my mind, it's really hard to think of other places that put all of this together. There are education and tech zones. I've lived in them and worked in them, Cambridge and Boston with Harvard and MIT, but it's not a great production center. It specializes in education and technology. You have Silicon Valley, which is wonderful and dynamic in education, in technology, of course, in startups, but the manufacturing is being done in Shenzhen. It's not being done in Silicon Valley so much. So it's the combination that I find absolutely remarkable. And I can imagine that these cities are really dynamically adjusting to their particular roles in all of this process. And I'd be interested to understand how Hong Kong is changing through its connection with Shenzhen or with these other production centers. Is Hong Kong, as one of the world's great financial centers, naturally becoming the financier of these cities in Guangdong and continuing to play that special role, or is it doing something else?
It's an extremely insightful question, if I may say so, Professor Sachs, because Hong Kong has to adjust and adapt, and Hong Kong is doing exactly that at the present time. For example, Hong Kong's container port used to service the mainland cities at one time as far as Shanghai, when our truck drivers would drive boxes unloaded at the Hong Kong port all the way for a couple of days on the road to Shanghai. And now the role is being reversed because the cost of operation of the port in Shenzhen and Nansha is lower. And therefore shippers send the things that we need to these mainland ports for them to be trucked down to Hong Kong. And therefore, if you look at the number of boxes that Hong Kong handles, which has been growing, but not as fast as the mainland port. And so by way of ranking, we've been going down. We're now probably 8th or 9th largest port in the world in terms of number of boxes that we handle. But we are moving up the value chain. We are elevating our status as an international transportation that includes shipping center of China by not focusing only on port-based activities, but growing what I call desk-based shipping activities. And that would include the registration of ships. Hong Kong, under one country, two systems principle, is allowed to have its own shipping register. So registration of ships, buying and selling of ships, insurance of ships, the financing of ships, and lastly, which is very important, I'm using Hong Kong common law system and Hong Kong's judicial system, Hong Kong's rule of law, etc., to develop and offer our maritime legal services to the rest of the country. So the direction in which we're moving is not expanding our port-based activities, building more terminals, but developing our shipping or maritime services. Before long, you'll see Hong Kong developing into, or having developed into, the kind of shipping center the way London is. And London, as you know, it's a city that doesn't have any container port, but it's a very successful, valuable maritime services center, offering the kind of services that I just mentioned. So that's the interaction between Hong Kong, Shenzhen, and the rest of the country. In the past, we sent boxes to them from our container port. Now they send boxes to us. At the same time, we are developing these services to service the needs of China as the biggest shipping nation and the biggest shipbuilding nation in the world.
Amazing. Can you describe one major choice and issue for China, and obviously it'll be a big deal for Hong Kong as well, and that's the internationalization of the renminbi, because China is the great saving nation of the world. China is financing a lot of investment all over the world, both officially and through official means, public means, and also obviously the banking sector. Hong Kong has been based especially in Western currencies and the Hong Kong dollar, but the renminbi, we're counting on playing a larger role directly in the world, and the panda bond market, and the ability of countries to finance their long-term infrastructure, which they're going to buy from China through Chinese saving, and ultimately, I think, through the Hong Kong financial system. So how is it going to work with the currency in the future? Hong Kong Monetary Authority obviously has a very important role to play in all of this.
First of all, Hong Kong is the only international financial center of China in the true sense of this term. Secondly, Hong Kong has a separate currency from the rest of China, which is renminbi. And Hong Kong dollar is freely convertible. Its value is pegged to the US dollar. And so Hong Kong dollar is as good as a US dollar, it's a US dollar proxy.
Yep.
And the peg has withstood the trials and tribulation of major economic changes in the world, in Hong Kong and China, in the past 40 years. One US dollar equals 7.8 Hong Kong dollars, and that hasn't changed.
I know. I've been coming for 40 years, so
that hasn't changed in 40 years.
Rock solid.
And what's more, Hong Kong is the IPO center for mainland Chinese enterprises ever since Qingdao Bear came to Hong Kong to list in 1993, I believe. And so you have all these ingredients, and you have freer flow between Hong Kong currency and renminbi, which is a conversion. I mean, I can use this iPhone. I have a sort of WeChat Pay function that is tied to my Hong Kong credit card. A couple of days ago, I was in Nanshan, just wanted to buy some goji berry. No, Ningxia. I was in Ningxia. I wanted to buy some goji berry. I took out my iPhone. My QR code was screened and was asked to sort of key in a password, so I did, and then I pressed confirm, and the money went through to the vendor through a Hong Kong-based credit card in Hong Kong dollars. I know it's a very sort of low-level everyday activity. I'm not talking about billions of dollars of transaction, but these things are happening. So, as I said at the very beginning, Professor Sachs, it's a very interesting exercise intellectually and academically as well. It has a different value compared to the renminbi. We belong to the same country. We're very close economic and financial relationship with the rest of the country, but two separate currencies, two separate convertibilities. But things are happening, and the two things are coming together. And one day, I don't know when, but one day there will be a big bang, and this big bang would be very interesting for Hong Kong and for the mainland of China, and I think will be mutually beneficial too.
Well, one thing that I'm very interested in and very supportive of is the Belt and Road Initiative, because I view this as a major contribution of China to economic development in partner countries throughout ASEAN, China, Africa, Western Asia, and so forth. And so I'm always arguing for an even bigger Belt and Road. Now, I've also been always recommending that it should be a green Belt and Road. In other words, really promoting electric vehicles, electric fast rail, 5G, which I'm told is no longer 5G, but is 5.5G, and so forth. It does seem to me that the Greater Bay Area can really be a leading edge of an even expanded Belt and Road Initiative. And one place that I'd like to see that expansion is in Southeast Asia, because I think the ASEAN countries are naturally linked to the same economic region as China, and it's a great fit and will be very good for development of the ASEAN countries, for their low carbon energy systems, for their transport, for hydrogen economy, and so on. And I'm wondering, from a policy point of view, can we see the Greater Bay Area taking a kind of lead in Belt and Road style initiatives in the world? Because the Greater Bay Area offers finance, it offers the tech, it offers the infrastructure, manufacturing, and so forth. So it does seem to me to be really a great way for China to expand this program.
First of all, ASEAN is the second largest trading partner of Hong Kong. ASEAN stands for the benefit of your audience, if I might, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which is an economic trade bloc. Hong Kong has a free trade agreement with ASEAN. It wasn't an easy negotiation process. That happened when I was our chief secretary. We had to negotiate with all 10 member nations.
Oh, very good.
But in the end, we made it. The mainland of China is our biggest trading partner, but the next one, next largest, is ASEAN. And ASEAN, at the same time, is the biggest trading partner of China as a whole. And Hong Kong is the perfect super connector.
I agree.
Between the rest of China and the rest of the world, and that includes ASEAN. And ASEAN, as an economic bloc, has one of the highest economic growths, even in recent years when the rest of the world has been sort of impacted by COVID and various other things. And Hong Kong people have very close family and social connections to the peoples of the 10 member nations of ASEAN. So these are the factors that we are bringing to bear on Hong Kong's role right between the GBA Guangdong cities and the ASEAN nations. So we're seeing increases of trade and other activities very quickly. couple of days ago, I was on a plane from Hong Kong flying to Ningxia, which is a Muslim autonomous region in the northwestern part of China.
I know Ningxia, actually. I've been
Well,
a visitor there.
I sent you a bottle of wine. The wine, the wines are now really getting popular. But anyway, I came across a Malaysian tour group, and going to Ningxia, and the tour leader told me that 80% of tourists leaving Malaysia for overseas holidays, 80% go to China, not counting Singapore. Singapore obviously is very close to Malaysia. And this is partly because China has waived unilaterally entry visa requirements for Malaysian passport holders. China is continuing to open up, and one of the features is the unilateral waiving of visa requirements for dozens of foreign countries. And for foreign nationals, including American nationals who have taken up residence in Hong Kong for 7 years or more, who automatically become, you don't need to swear an oath of allegiance to China and none of that business. Any foreign national, including American nationals, who have lived in Hong Kong for 7 years or more, taking Hong Kong as their principal place of residence, have become automatically a permanent resident of Hong Kong. You maintain your U.S. nationality, but you become a U.S. national with permanent residency status in Hong Kong. And with that status, recently, you get the benefit of not having to use your US passport or British passport or Australian passport with a visa on it to go to the mainland China.
Very attractive.
You are given a card, an entry card, which you swipe at the barrier, and then you walk through. That's another feature of China continuing to open up to the outside world. And therefore, we are seeing a lot more foreign nationals who are permanent residents of Hong Kong using that facility, going to places like Shenzhen for shopping, to have a good time in a restaurant, to play golf, or going to the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology to teach. Mm-hmm. As I said, we're going through a very interesting period of integration and transformation. What Hong Kong would like to do is to share not just these insights, but also these facilities with our friends in other parts of the country. Come to Hong Kong and pop over to Shenzhen or Nansha for a few hours and come back.
You know, it makes so much sense. The Americans complain that China has overcapacity, they say, and I think it's a funny new term, because what it really means is China has great capacity, and it's and that great capacity is raising living standards and also making a huge positive impact on the partner countries. Let me ask you, perhaps as the last question, it was a little bit strange to me that there were, murmurs of pessimism about Hong Kong. What's going to happen to Hong Kong? What's Hong Kong's future? But it seems absolutely the contrary, that Hong Kong's role is even more dynamic than ever because of this incredible dynamism throughout China, and including immediately in the Greater Bay Area. So it only seems to me to be a cause for excitement.
Hong Kong's safe and sound. Hong Kong faces the same challenges that many other open global economies face. But otherwise, we're doing well. Yeah, we're doing well under one country, two systems, Hong Kong people ruling Hong Kong with a high degree of autonomy. I think the best way to dispel these, I believe, often politically driven arguments against the future of Hong Kong is to come and visit us. Exactly. Love to see you all, including our friends in America. Come to see Hong Kong for yourself. COVID is over. American nationals coming to Hong Kong do not need a visa. And love to show you around in the neighborhood of Hong Kong too. As I said, Shenzhen, Nanchang, other GBA cities. And you have to be in these, what I call neighborhood cities of Hong Kong to understand the purpose of Hong Kong, the forte of Hong Kong, and also, therefore, the future of Hong Kong. And love to do that with you too, Professor Sachs.
Chairman Leong, I hope I can take you up on that. I mean, that's my plan, and I'd love to have that opportunity to visit some of the neighborhood with you as well. It would be a great treat and a great privilege. Thank you so much for sharing your actually decades of leadership in bringing about this this integration, this remarkable dynamism, this growth of an absolutely unique and fascinating part of the world. So Chairman Leong, thank you for being with me on Global Dialogue. I so much appreciate it and look forward to seeing you in Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area very soon.
Professor Sachs, it's my privilege. See you in Hong Kong.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And this was another episode of China Now, a show that opens a window to the present and future of the Asian giant. Hope you enjoy it. See you next time.